Super excited to be here with Beth Mylott today. I am really thinking about, and I've been thinking about this a lot, the tension that I know we all feel as homeschool parents, really with this screen time. Right? Don't you feel that? I mean, we know our kids need to be technologically capable. It's part of our future, it's part of our right now. And our kids tend to pick it up really fast, sometimes crazy fast. But we also know that we don't want them to just be passive and be consumers of screen time. We also want them to build skills on it and want them to be able to do things that can be transferable in the real world and prepare them for success later. And one of those skills, one of the major skills here, and I feel like this is technology in a nutshell, is creativity. So, creativity is really what technology allows us to do. It's so fantastic because it's it's almost like the sky is the limit, and it's even beyond that. I was watching some stuff today about some things that people were building with AI, and mind blowing. It's mind blowing. It's fantastic. So exciting. But we want to make sure that we're curating our screen time in a way that keeps our kids engaged, keeps them thinking, using critical thinking, problem solving, and all of that, so that we can make sure that our kids just aren't sitting there like binging Netflix like some of us do, not naming any names. But anyway, so let's talk about that today. Let's talk about that separation and how we actually do that, because Beth has a really amazing program that she has developed for summer camps, to where it's like it's hands-on, it's technology, it's games, it's all kinds of fun. I actually had one of our Inspiring Lifelong Learning Academy members go through her program last year, and he was obsessed. He loved it so much. It was so amazing. And Beth has actually been with us before on our podcast. She was talking about the difference in gaming and how we can use games to utilize our kids in love of learning and just really inspire them. So I'm excited today because Beth's back and we're talking about building creativity. Thank you so much for joining us today, Beth. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us today. And I'm just really excited to hear about what your passion is, especially in creativity, because you really, really involve creativity in on and off screen with what you do. So, can you tell us about why you're so passionate about that?
So when it comes to creativity, I found that when students are pushed in a direction that they don't want to go in, they are the creative juices aren't going to flow like they would if they're going through a medium that they like. So when I was a kid, video games were just kind of becoming exciting and popular. They have You can paintbrush in VR now. You can create a monument in Minecraft. So it allows so much more expansion of what they can do in a way that's both safe and reliable as well. So it just allows us to bring more to their creativity. It just has to be done in a way that's stimulating for the people using it or the students using it.
That's such a good point. I'm so glad that you brought up the safe part, because that is one of the things that we have hesitations we have as homeschoolers and as parents, saying like, okay, well, we hear a lot of dangers. There's a lot of things that are not kosher for kids online, not kosher for kids in AI, and some of these gaming worlds, especially. So, can you talk a little bit about the things that are not productive versus the things that are productive, and how we can be safe about that?
So when you're looking at screen time, you want to make sure that it's um, productive screen time.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that they are interacting with the world, they're doing something. That doesn't mean that there's going to be a final product at the end. Just learning the rules and mechanics of a world is quite exciting and complicated, especially if they're working on fine motor skills. But like if when I say passive, I mean like staring at a TV screen or watching Netflix for hours. When we're playing a game, we're actively making choices, we're using our critical thinking skills, and we are basically playing in what I call a lab. It's a safe space where they can just exist and do whatever they want in their own virtual world in a way that will not cause any significant harm if they fail. So they can say, like, maybe I'm going to try combining these two chemicals or these two elements in a chemistry world in Minecraft. Let's see what happens. It might cause an explosion, but no one's going to get hurt. We're in Minecraft. We just respawn and we try again.
That's amazing. I didn't even know you could do that in Minecraft, but that's pretty awesome. I love that. And that's something that if you are doing outside learning, so if you're doing things like a curriculum or you're in a science class, they can actually take that and apply it into Minecraft, right?
That is correct. What has happened with many of these games is they have what's called a modding community. So people who love to code, who add different aspects to these games. And some of them are chemistry mods, they add space to Minecraft, they add history to Minecraft. And you just have to find the ones that are the best for your student and what they're interested in. So you can have the same game be a completely different story every day, just through research and finding the right applications to use.
Wow, that is fascinating. I love that. And you can use that even in the opposite direction. So,
Mhm,
as a teacher, I'm thinking about this. You can use
mhm,
it in the either as a follow up rabbit trail, right,
mhm,
to what
mhm,
you're doing in your daily homeschool studies, or you could use it the other way, like an introduction, a Scooby snack, a little teaser, and then go
mhm.
into a rabbit trail from there.
Exactly. And for example, when I work at a school called Big Minds, and in that school we actually use Minecraft as our time for recess. That time is for learning social rules, but in a way that the students are all safe together, so they don't. When they have a conflict, we can all take a break from Minecraft for a second and come back. And for the students, it's really important to be able to feel when they're dysregulated and regulated. So being able to feel, when do I need to take a step back from a situation? It's so much easier to be able to do that through a video game.
That's interesting. I'd love to learn more about that and really thinking about how they can they can identify their triggers in that area. That's interesting. I didn't even know that was possible, but I could see that happening. I could see that happening. That's interesting. Do you and I don't want to get too derailed into that area, but that is something that we can consider for sure for our kids that have neurodivergence. And I know that you don't just do in your summer camps, you don't just do digital things. So you
That is
also
correct.
send them a kit that they can do hands-on stuff
That
and
is
they can
correct.
do different activities. And that's important because we're not just sending the message that creativity happens on a screen.
Exactly. That screens are great for freedom and the ability to be in their own little universe, but it's good to and really important to still bring in the real world as well. So having a balance of that is really important. One good thing that I found when working with screens and technology is having the student build agency around when they've had enough screen time. So really figuring out when their body, when they feel like they are overwhelmed and ready to step away. For example, it's very common for one of my students to be like, you know what, I need to go jump on the trampoline. I need a little activity right now. And I'll be like, go for it, take a trampoline break. And then they come back to the screen and they're ready to go. Or they're like, I want to play with blocks or something that gets their body moving in some way because they feel in their body that they're a little tense and they're ready to move. And this is good because it happens way before maybe a meltdown might happen. And the sooner they're able to feel that in their body, the sooner that when they're an adult, they're able to feel that when they need to maybe take a walk or maybe to go to yoga when they're feeling too tense in their bodies as well.
Gosh, I love that. So do you teach them how they can identify those things?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of getting my master's in social work, and my goal is to put in play therapy with our classes in the next few years when I graduate.
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. And I was just talking to my son about this
Mhm,
actually right before we got on here,
mhm,
because he was talking about AI and he's very obsessed with AI, but also
yeah.
obsessed with the safety of it. And
Mhm,
he wants to make sure that, of course, AI is going to be kept in the box it needs to be kept in so it doesn't
mhm.
take over and kill us all. But
Yes.
the there's that, right? So but there's so many opportunities, and we are talking about LLMs, the large language models, and like open it, ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and things like that. And we were talking about that students can do so much on there that doesn't require thinking.
Mhm,
However, I was saying that I feel like your programs, things like this, where somebody is separately taking something that's educational and saying, this, let's keep this still in the box it needs to be kept in so kids are learning and they're actually
mhm,
engaging. So saying something I would love to see is an AI that actually curates their research. So saying, yeah, okay, the research is here. Let's say you want to build a skate park. It'll
mhm,
give you all these resources, but then it also tells you go book an appointment with your city planner, and let's come up with some interview questions. Let's go to
mhm.
a city council meeting and how to present that at a city council meeting. So you're getting out into the world, which is what I love about what you do too.
Yes, and that is super important as far as the screen time when you're with your student during a homeschooling session is remaining active throughout the process, asking questions. What are you building right now? Or what's your big plan here? How is this going to look? Could we make this more complicated, or what could we add to this to make it even more helpful for whatever you're doing? Are you like, I've had students build a roller coaster park in our class, and then we just spend the whole time, I'm just building upon what was their original idea, that they would love to see a theme park in Minecraft. I'm like, of course, a theme park would be amazing. And I just kind of help and assist them move along, but all the creativity and energy is coming from them.
That's great, because you're helping them think about things they wouldn't thought of before. They just want to build a roller coaster, be like, but how's the
Yeah,
acceleration going to happen? But what if they hit the end
exactly.
of the turn and they are out of,
Mhm, mhm,
momentum? What happens then? I love that.
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's totally physics, that's math,
Mhm,
that's science. Oh, beautiful. I love it. So, how do we as eh, for moms thinking about this, it sounds great, right? I love
mhm.
this. It sounds great. Well, how do we do it for our kids? How do we say, okay, I would love to do that, and we have this curriculum, we have these online things. How do we put them together?
So I would start with a game that allows for creativity and control. Minecraft is a great starting point because it has both those things. Also use a game called Escape Simulator or Escape Room Simulator, where we design escape rooms and puzzles, and people in the community have developed their own escape rooms where you're solving puzzles. Games that allow for that sort of creativity and an openness to the world that the student will have a sense of control over. And then once they are starting, just staying involved, asking what they're doing, and trying to make a conversation out of it. That conversation can carry out throughout the rest of the day. So, for example, if you're struggling with a physics lesson later, remember the roller coaster we built. How did it interact with the world? And you can bring that into different parts of the day when that student is struggling, remembering that part of the fun, that fun of the day, and using it to build upon the day. So, and then you could maybe draw out what you did in Minecraft. You can write a story about it. You could possibly make math equations based on what you built. It becomes a jumping off point to so many different things.
That sounds amazing, and I think that's a great use of screen
Mhm.
time and technology. I really do, because it's teaching them to be responsible online, but then also teaching them to how it relates to something that we're already doing or relating to a different part of our world. It's so beautiful. And I'm thinking about this, and their parents are probably like, I get it, but what are some of the mistakes that you see that
So,
parents do a lot?
a common mistake that I see is focusing only on limiting screen time. So trying to control the narrative in a way so it feels like this is the reward for doing other things. So trying to make it so it's just another treat. So almost like, I'm trying to think, kind of to focusing rather instead of on limiting it on making sure that every time they are in front of a screen that it's quality and the student has complete control over the situation that they're in
And
so
they're
that
still
they
having
feel
fun.
autonomous. Exactly. So it's if you have control over it and it's like a controlled feeling, they're not going to enjoy their time. If they're running around a world of their own invention, they are going to be enjoying themselves and learning more from the program itself. And then second is not being in part of the environment, kind of just letting them sit in front of the screen
So
and then
true.
just kind of hang out, being included. Like, who's that? What's that character do? Tell me more about that. That's half of what I do in my classes. It's just trying to learn a little bit about their little worlds that they have on the screen and how I can be a part of it. And then expecting there to be some sort of built project at the end. Sometimes it's just, I want to run around with a sword in this world and find things. And I found this really cool thing, this mountain over here. Are there mountains like this in the real world? I'd love to see it. And that just becomes its own lesson. It's kind of letting the lesson happen rather than kind of forcing a lesson.
Those are such
Mm-hmm.
great points. I really love that because as a former classroom teacher coming home, and I have an education in my mind
Mm-hmm.
about that there should be, and I see this from a lot of parents too, because they have been educated in the public school world. And so they are, or just in private school, whatever schooling
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And they have this idea that there has to be some sort of outcome. There has to be some
Exactly.
sort of product that comes
Mm-hmm.
out of that. And so the learning ends up being the process of learning is not honored. It's
Mm-hmm.
only the product that's honored, the finished thing. Then you get graded on that, right? You get
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing. But it's actually the process of learning is the important part.
Yes.
That's the gift.
Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
that's the
And
part
then,
they
oh, go ahead.
enjoy. And that's the part they enjoy the most, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I also think that the what you said about the limiting the screen time and just saying, okay, this is like all we're going to do, there is some validity to that, but it can get to where we don't qualify it. So we're saying
Exactly.
there's okay, you get 2 hours of screen time a day, but we don't say what kind of learning or kind of screen time it is. And then it's a lot of times it's passive, right?
Exactly. They're kind of just hanging out in front of this maybe like watching video shorts on exciting things, but they're not involved at all. Their brain isn't working when they're in the passive screen time for sure.
And then using it as a reward. So
Yeah.
using passive screen time as a reward is something I see a lot in, especially when, parents are out, they're doing their thing. Maybe they're at, baseball, or one kid's at baseball and like the other kids are just sitting there and they're on screens. And, or they say, if you do your studies, if you do your workbook, you get
Yeah.
a half hour of screen time. And what you're
Mhm.
saying is that you're sending the message that the workbook learning is not it's the important thing, but it's also not fun. And the
Exactly.
fun thing is not learning. So we
but
have
but
to
sitting,
switch it all.
we want to switch it so the fun part of the day is actually the learning part of the day, not the not doing anything part of the day. We want them to be excited about doing things rather than looking forward to the part where I don't have to do anything at all, which I think is very important for inspiring a lifelong learner.
Absolutely. You're speaking my language, lady. So definitely we want to send the message that all of it can be fun. All of it is
Yes.
relevant. All of it
Mhm.
goes together. And it's not just, oh, we have to
Mhm.
slam through this stuff. A lot of parents say, I ask them, do they like what you're doing? Do they like what you're doing for studies? And they go, well, they do it. I'm like, but do they like it? That's a different
Exactly.
question. That's a different question. We want them to enjoy all parts of it. And yeah, there are some things when they get older and their love of learning's been great, you can challenge them with things that are not necessarily all that fun, but are
Mhm,
relevant, and they know that at that point. But you can't
mhm,
do it when they're little. You can't do it when their love of learning is low, because then they're going to hate everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
And just look for the part where they're doing nothing. And that's not what we want. For example, I have one of my students brought a game to me, which I was so excited about. It's called Supermarket Simulator. And in this game, we run a supermarket. So they have to buy the product, they have to set the prices, they have to name it, they have to treat the building correctly by cleaning it up and making it look nice. So everyone kind of chooses their job in the supermarket. And one of my students really
Fantastic.
wanted to do the cash register, but their counting abilities was a little slower than the rest of the students. And they were like they saw one of the students do so much better at the cash register. And they're like, how did they do that? And I'm like, well, practice. They counted change, they tried their best, and they took some time, but they got really good at it. And I've seen for the last couple of days that student has been practicing on the cash register because they want to get better at it so that they can participate with their group. And that's the kind of love of learning I want to bring in, that they want to succeed so that they can apply it to the real world one day.
What? She wants to learn math? Are you crazy?
So excited about it now. I'm so happy.
That's exciting. Yeah, and that's how it can be.
Mhm,
That's exactly what it can be. Because she has a reason to learn it.
mhm.
She has something that's like, oh, now I know I need to,
Yeah,
because I want to do this, which is ultimately, isn't that ultimately the motivation behind everything we do and everything we
exactly.
learn? We want
Yes,
to do something, so we need to learn this.
exactly. And that's what I want them to look towards the future in the way that they are learning because they want to be something one day. And what does that even look like? For sure. And being able to practice in situations where they can't participate in, because, well, obviously, we can't have children working in a grocery store, but we can have them practice for that skill one day in a fake grocery store where we buy lots of pasta and call it Pasta Palooza and have a great time.
That's so fun. That's exciting. What creativity their imaginations are going. And so tell us about how that relates, that creative mind, that problem solving, that imagination, how that's going to help them in the future, because this is humanity. This is how we don't let AI take over everything.
So, first off, they become independent thinkers. So, when they're in a difficult situation, they will make their own decisions on what to do because they've been in numerous simulated situations where they've had limited resources and weren't sure what to do next. Next, they're confident decision makers. So, they'll actually feel confidence in their ability to make the right decision. Like, I've been through 100 scenarios similar to this. I know exactly what I want to do, and I feel that I have the smarts to do it. And becoming creative problem solvers, being able to, when something doesn't work right, being able to step back and, like, well, I could look at this from a different angle and solve it a completely different way. My last one is it builds resilient adults, adults who've seen failure in many different ways and are able to understand that it's just one failure. And if they try again, they'll get a different result. So try continuously working hard to get a result. I had one student who was very frustrated, and we were trying to build a factory, and it took many different tries. But at the end of it, they're like, you know what? That's just one thing that I learned how to do. And now I can do it for all of those other situations. And if they felt that feeling of I can bounce back from anything, it's just hard to beat.
Gosh, I love this. And I want to put one caveat on everything that we're talking about today, which is we are not talking about being on screens all day long, every day
No,
kind of thing, right?
exactly. This is just a part of the day, some way to link the learning to something that is concrete and is visible in the student's world, something that they can relate to. The why am I learning this, mom? Why do I need to learn 2 + 2? Or why do I need to learn about the area of a shape? It's because maybe we'd like to build buildings one day, and we would need to know how to develop or calculate for the area to be able to place the building correctly, or know how big the building needs to be, the size of the walls, so that the building fits correctly in the place you need to have. Or you need to have a budget for a store if you'd like to run one day. These all connect to possibly a in-person lab, maybe a book you're reading. All of them connect together to make a full curriculum.
Absolutely. And this goes so far. I mean, we're talking about a lot of science, a lot of like engineering, a lot of things, a lot of real life skills. This can also go like Beth just said, you can do stories. So I'm thinking like, what if your read aloud for your family read aloud was Chronicles of Narnia, and you went in and you read Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and you went in and created this whole scene, or created something where you're even an app or a game where you can create that would actually simulate the story, or in some way in which you might have thought like, let's change it up to like, let's see what I would have liked to seen happen, right? Not just what would have gone.
Exactly.
And you can totally be creative about their stories. So how, there was one example I saw for an uh, AI creator, and he's super amazing with AI. And he said his daughter, a 7-year-old daughter, she says, I want to do AI, daddy. So she was like, I guess Stranger Things had first come out, and he said, okay, draw me a monster. So she drew a monster, and then he put it into AI and created an AI image for the monster. And then they took a little video of her on the beach, and like pretending that there was a monster coming out of the beach, and put the beast in there. So now she has a video, and she's like, I'm gonna make a whole story, I'm gonna make a movie like about
Yeah,
my thing, and then I'm gonna market the movie, and then I'm gonna create a toy that looks like the monster, and I'm gonna market the toy. And like, she's
exactly. And when they have when the creativity has no limits, it leads to thoughts like that, where they're thinking of all these possibilities. And that's what I love about students who work with activities like this. They just get so excited about stuff like that they can create in the world and add to maybe AI. We might have a new AI engineer over here and not know it yet.
Exactly. I mean, my son, we were having that conversation about educational AI, and he's like, that has me thinking. I could take an open source AI, and I could add on the da 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 and
Yeah,
do all. I don't even know what he was talking about. And he's like, I could make it this and that, and then that would be, nobody's doing that right now. I could totally do that.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
for
well.
sure. Why not? I seen I saw an educational AI where they've taken all the historical texts from different historical figures. I don't have the I don't have the exact name of it now, but then you could talk and ask questions to these different
Oh,
historical figures
yes.
based on the text. So it's almost like you're having a conversation with, I don't know, Napoleon, to see how was he really unconfident about his height, or is it things like that. We could ask Abraham Lincoln what he thought about being president. What was his? It takes all of the speeches they have done and really gives them a personality that can relate to actual historical texts, which is important for the student as it's interactive, but also historically accurate.
Yeah, and then you could even analyze that and say, well, is that really what he would think? I don't know. Is that an accurate
Yeah,
way of a representation of him? That's the total
exactly.
critical thinking method there.
Yep.
That's so fantastic. That's super
Yeah,
inspiring. I love this. This is a great way for you to increase level of learning and have fun, and to start bridging the gap between here's boring, the important learning that we have to do, the box checking, and here's all of the things we like to learn about, and we can bridge that gap. So this is a great way to do
exactly.
it. I love it.
Mhm.
Beth, tell me how people can get in touch with you. Tell me about your summer camp.
So I run Game and Learn Summer Camp, and I'll have a link in our post about our camp. And basically, there's 8 weeks of camp. It's all online via Zoom. I send a lab kit, art supplies, and a video game, um, plus a lab kit, all to your house. And it's just a fun, inclusive time to hang out all summer with your friends. Each week has a different theme. We have dinosaur, robots are going to take over at one point. We're going to be talking about energy, pirates, as one of my favorite shows is One Piece, so I had to include that. And it just brings in lots of topics that I know students love and are excited about, and then adds in the math, the science, and then we add in literacy through world building, where we build a world using these applications.
Yeah, it's super fun. Like I said, I had a friend that was her son was, I think he was with you for the whole summer because he was so juiced about it
Yes.
and helping you out and everything. So
Yeah.
that's so amazing. And you can get information about that in the show notes, wherever you're watching, listening to this. And Beth, thank you so much for joining us
Yeah,
today. I'm
no
super
problem.
excited to have you on again. And if you haven't listened to that episode that we did before, go back and listen to that first one because it will talk about a little bit more about productive versus unproductive and a little bit more introduction to some of the concepts that we're talking about today. But I also would love to see if you resonated with this in any way. If you really love this kind of information, please give us a like, a follow, a share. Send this to somebody who needs it and who wants to hear about this kind of learning and increasing way to increase level of learning and really create actual skills that they can use in their life later. And if you're so motivated, I would just love for you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you send me a screenshot of that, just send it to my DMs on Instagram or Facebook. I will give you just send it with your email, and then I will give you my free guide, which I actually do sell, but I'm going to give it to you for free on the 3 foolproof ways that you can increase level of learning in your home. So I really enjoy having you on every single time, Beth. It's so great to hear from you again. And everybody else, have a wonderful rest of the week. We will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
See ya. Have a great one.